Alrighty, welcome to Supernatural Signals, My Haunted Journal edition. If you're new here, this is kind of just a series where I just yap about whatever the heck I want, but usually geared towards um, supernatural things. But like I said, I like to go into true crime and just kind of stuff what I'm doing, updates on my life that I feel like sharing, and just any thoughts I have on the supernatural specifically. But yeah, it's really just me yapping. So thank you for joining. If I do mention the word Kermie, he is my boyfriend, and that is his nickname he likes to go by that I gave him. Alrighty, so let's get into it. You do hear a whiny little doggy that is Buddy. I shut the door. I've never like done before, like where like I'm like shutting it and not letting him in. But it's just I have to record this. So and he is the type like yesterday I was, you know, typing my boss something and he like jumps on and like sends this like weird message and everything like that. So um, he's very clingy. He doesn't and then when I start talking and it's just he's always like especially when I start talking to something, he like jumps on wherever I'm at and he's like, "Who are you talking to?" So I shut the door and I'm the only reason I'm telling you this is because I feel like a really bad mommy, but it's okay. He will go eat a bone or eat his food that I prepared for him. And he just had half my breakfast, so he's good. Anyway, and we're gonna take a walkie a little bit. But anyway, I have mom guilt. um, but but I guess I'll start with what I did for Thanksgiving. So Kermie and I and my dad had a low key Thanksgiving. It was just us three, and it was good. It was just low key. We watched the movie the death of the death of Stalin, which was actually really good. It was really funny, and I suggest watching it. If you have like I don't know if you're like watching a movie with a family member where you're like, well, I like these type of movies and they like these type of movies. I feel like it's kind of like a happy medium where it's like comedy and a little bit of like action and a little bit of history and it's good. It was really well done. Has Steve Buscemi in it. Um, and yeah, I suggest watching it. um, but and honestly, as like for the past like whatever it's been since I kind of started my spiritual journey, I can guarantee you it's probably not far off of how humans look when doing stuff like that. Is no matter, I mean, the crimes obviously are horrific, but just how like comical looking probably another species looking in at humans doing whatever humans think are important, you know. I don't know if people get what I'm saying, but anyway, let's move on. Um, but hi Kitty. She just had to pee and she's coming back to her bed. She's so cute. Um, but yeah, so other than that, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Like I said, if you didn't celebrate it for whatever reason, I hope you had a good day. And I do want to give a shout out to anyone that is doing like customer service jobs, especially like shopping and all that. Like I have done a lot of customer service back in my day, and I know it it people are crazy over 10% discounts that aren't going to mean anything in the grand scheme of things. So I hope you're okay. Like, I don't like to do too much shopping in stores now that we have like cyber weeks and stuff like that. It's no fun to me. Like I don't know, like waking up at 3 in the morning to go shop in the cold. It's just doesn't seem like a good time. I get why people like it. Like I get like the thrill of it and this like thing, but I think I've had enough thrills for a little bit that I'm just like, y'all go have fun. Let's put it that way. But so again, no hate for people that do like it. I kind of get because when I was younger, my sisters and my mom and I would go like really, really young, and it would be kind of like exciting and like, oh, you're getting up, you're getting a treat, and let's get hit the stores. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the cyber sales are even better than in stores, but that's just my opinion. Um anyway, um so I guess what the main things I wanted to talk about was well first I do know with the David case with Celeste, he has now been made a suspect, which is good. I think we all knew. I just think it's one of those things where you don't really like to hear about it, I guess. um, so yeah, so I'm just gonna keep y'all updated on that case. So he's been officially made a suspect. And it's just her body apparently was like frozen. So I don't know how long they had her body before transferring it to the car. It's just this is it's just so sad. It's just so freaking sad. And if you want to watch his interviews, it's like, yeah, you can tell the guy had like, you know, depression or like, you know, had deep thoughts and all these things, but looking back in the interviews, you never know that he was like keeping a freaking body or at least knew that a 14-year-old little girl was in a Tesla. Like it's just so mind boggling how people can just switch, right? It's insane. It's insane. Like I feel guilty for leaving my dog out while I record this. And some people can just go ahead and record albums and go on tour and do interviews and just be from what I see. I mean, I was never a big fan. Let's be real, I wasn't a fan at all. Like I only knew the song because of social media, but I didn't know who he was. And but still, it's like he just seemed perfectly normal to me. So it's just crazy how people can like have a different way to show themselves to the media or to friends and just switch their personalities to fit the situation. It's crazy to me. And like I said before, I feel like we all do it to some extent. Like you're not the same that you are to your boss, maybe a little bit, but depending on your relationship, you're not the same to your teachers. You're not the same to your friends. There might be some group of friends that seem cooler. So you try and be like, yeah, I'm a cool girl. And then like, you know, and I'm talking more like high school ages and stuff, but just giving for the example. And then and then like your friends that are actually like more of your friends, like you're more yourself, like that type of vibe, right? And it's just so crazy how people use that to like cover such darkness. And I guess that kind of like leads me to like one of the topics I wanted to talk about. And that is the idea of, I guess, this idea came to me from one of my last videos when I was talking about how, like, you know, being prepared with ghosts and having like with spirits, like having I guess, common ground with spirits and understanding how spirits work and their boundaries and what they find offensive and what you find offensive and learning from each other in that way. Sorry, buddy is. And just like an understanding, right? Like I said, I always like to look at the spiritual world and the universe as a whole, even all the ones that are on the good side, because I don't think ghosts are on the bad side at all. I just think they got lost in the plot, right? They just got lost in the mixture through all the chaos of the universe, and they're stuck somewhere, and they're either angry or they're sad or they're confused or they're, you know, they have a lot of emotions, right? Because they're stuck in a loop, and they won't let go, right? And of the past, right? And so but with the universe, I just feel like I almost see it as like the animal kingdoms. There's a lot of good sides that can work together to make the whole world work, right? It's just that you won't put a tiger in with, I don't know, I don't know, Bambi, like, you know what I mean, and expect them not to have issues, right? You wouldn't put certain species of animals together, but they could still work together in harmony, right? You just have to understand what works for them and what they need and vice versa, right? And that's how I look at the universe and have like a respect. And so that's how I kind of look at ghosts. And so when I made my video, I made it kind of clear though, it's like you have to learn before you just go in, because ghosts have a lot of time and spirits have a lot of time to make up games, to play with you because they're taking their anger out on you or they really want your attention. And it could be for the smallest thing. And they keep annoying you and you think the clues are for one thing. And then all of a sudden you open your eyes, you're like, oh, that's all you just wanted. That's all you fucking wanted. Right. And that's how I look at ghosts. Right. But don't get me wrong, they're still dangerous in the sense of like y'all can really mind F each other up if you don't learn about each other, right? And you don't have those lessons and you don't grow from those things, right? And that's what I meant from that previous video. It was the video on I don't even remember, the hotels. I'll link it below if I remember. But that's what I meant by that. But then you can say, well, Carol, like, we've seen hauntings where people get chased out of their homes and things like that. And that could also be part of the ghost just like not being ready, or you're not being ready for them. And then just blows up to this big thing where it's like, you're not understanding me. So get the heck out. And like vice versa. And it's just not getting on. That can happen, right? Where it just like slowly, slowly, and they're testing each other and you're testing each other. And finally the ghost just like had it and thing. That is how I visualize it. But then there's the other side where it's more of the dark side that I was talking about earlier, where the dark sides aren't there. They don't want anything from you, except they want either to use you for bad, right? Or they just want you to be terrified to tell their story, to keep them alive, to keep their thing alive. Have you ever had those chain mails where they're like, send this chain mail for or you'll have bad luck for 7 years, like, like, and you have to send it to your friends or whatever. Like, that's what they want. They want their story alive. They want their presence to be there. That is different than ghosts. Like, that is different than a haunting, right? They want to use your, and don't get me wrong, ghosts still do this, but on a child play like thing, right? Where it's like, oh my God, get out of here, ghost. If you're experienced, like I said, if you are experienced, and experience is probably a lot different definition than some people say. People are like, well, I've gone ghost hunting and I've written, no, I'm experienced, and I mean training, and I mean fake ghost. I think there's a lot more that goes into it, but I don't want to get too weird for the internet. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then, like, so they go still mess with you mentally, they mess with your emotions, they mess with your things for multiple reasons, but hurt people, right? And ghosts have a lot of hurt. And it's more like, okay, what is your deal? Let's have therapy, let's talk this through. What do you need, like, so I can help you and you can help me, like, let's live in harmony. Demons and dark-sided things, they don't give a shit. Their job is, they were plopped down here to torture. They don't have feelings past that, right? They don't have thought process. And that's why it's so easy for them to do things like what David did. And I'm not saying he's a demon, but I'm just using an example, to just sit there and play this character that everyone loves and everyone appreciates, and everyone they see how they study us, they see how emotions work, they see what triggers us, they see what upsets us, and then they mimic that, right? And they're so good at it that it's like, if you told them that that person did something slightest bit wrong, like, oh, they didn't pay me back my money, you'd be like, no, those, and if they did, they probably had a good reason. Like, they will, like, they're so good at it. Like, it's crazy, right? And so you, a person that maybe noticed something wrong with them, can shout it from the rooftops and no one will listen to you, right? Because they're that good of an actor, right? They are, I can't, I haven't touched in my spiritual journey much of the dark sided stuff, because I think that's going to be way off in my journey, because like I said, you don't mess around with stuff that is that you're not ready for, right? And let me put it this way, no one that I know that's just walking around is ready for it, and I'm just being honest. I think in the movies that we see with, oh, the exorcism, I mm, I think that's a different topic, but I don't think that's really what demons are. I don't even think we know what they can do yet. That's my thought. I think it's a layer upon a layer. Like, we got introduced that they exist, but we don't know how dark they can be. That's my suggestion, or that's my idea. You can believe what you want, but that's fine. So when I say all that, you know, I I don't know. I just wanted to kind of, I guess, for that video, when I said that, I was like, well, people are gonna confuse demons or thing, and I'm sure a lot of people that are into the supernatural probably already know this, but I think it's a good topic to keep covering, right? And also know what you're dealing with before jumping in. I think that's also one of the key takeaways to always remember with the spiritual side, is always know what first you're dealing with, because I'm starting to play video games, right? And I suck at it. But they're fun, they clear my head, and I've been playing Little Nightmares, and I didn't realize with Little Nightmares, you have to be really good with the control stick, right? You have to be like really fast and thing. And I thought it was more like a figure out little puzzles and then maybe run away sometimes. It's you have to be really good with that. So it's kind of frustrating where I'm like, I just want to finish the game, but I can't get past this level because I suck at this and I haven't played games in years. And and so I'm like, let me go switch to something easier. And I switch to that, and all the control levels are different for a different game. And I'm like, well, now I don't know how to even just walk properly because I've been playing Little Nightmares for the past 20 hours, like, which you're supposed to pass that game in like 6 hours, but leave me alone. But I digress. It's also good to know what you're not good at. I'm going to put that out. It's also good to know what you're not good at, but that's for a different topic. But I I was like frustrated. I was like, oh, now I have to use these different controls. But that's again like in the spirit world, right? You have to use different tools for different type of entities, right? So you could be like, because sometimes when during my journey, I'm like some people that I talk to that that have been kind of like mentoring me, like Kermie, and I have another person that helps me, and I like to keep him private. I call him HG is his nickname. You know, like I'm like sometimes like when we're talking, I'm like it frustrates me because sometimes I feel like the rules change, but the rules don't really change. It's just you're in a different situation and you're looking at a different entity and you're thinking about something else, right? So it's a when I say also I mentioned in that last video you have to trust your sixth sense. That also applies to knowing what controls to use with what thing you're dealing with, right? And sometimes you're like, okay, this will work for this, and sometimes it's trial by error, but it's a lot of also sixth sense, like intuition, and sometimes you can't teach that, right? Sometimes you can't force that on people, right? You can try and lead them that way, but I don't know. Intuition is so huge in the supernatural. Now I'm babbling and not making sense, so I'm going to move on. But I hope that helps someone. I don't know. And then there's like the idea of that I've been kind of not dwelling so much, but it's kind of like been kind of nagging in the back of my head where the idea of doubt, right? Because it's one of those things where I was talking to HG and I kept like kind of like doubting him. I'm like, I just certain things, like I said, I'm fairly I've learned a lot in my supernatural journey, but I'm still very new into it, right? I know some people have been in their supernatural or spiritual journey for a really long time, but I'm still a baby in this. And it's so sometimes when I'm told things or like learning new things or finding out new things through the universe, like everyone does that are on their journey, sometimes like it's like I doubt it. And then when I was talking to HG, he's like, you're not doubting me, you're doubting yourself, right? Because sometimes I like to share my journey. And it's like, since I've been sharing it on YouTube, even though I have a small but a very much appreciated subscriber account, which again, hello if you're new here. Hope I don't scare you off. Um, you know, it's like I don't want to lead anyone down the wrong path, right? And so I think having some doubt and having some like, okay, let's back up and let's make sure, you know, what I'm saying is true. And I don't want to ever hurt anyone else's spiritual journey, right? And actually, I want to help people's spiritual journey. That's the whole point I'm doing this. But, you know, so sometimes I'll go to him and be like, okay, he's like, stop doubting yourself, right? And stop doubting what people think of you. And it's like it could even be like I'm trying to humanize it. So like when you have a like relationship and people are like, oh, that relationship isn't going to last, but you know what's going on behind closed doors, right? You know what you've experienced, you know what your situation is, and no one can judge something unless they've experienced, right? So either they're never going to understand and so they don't matter, or they're going to have their own experiences in the universe and be like, okay, you want to understand, here's your understanding, right? And but you can't make someone see, right? You can't. It's hard, especially when it gets, and this is more for me now because I just like to yap aloud, but it's hard when people make things personal, right? Which in the supernatural world, that's a lot what it feels like. A lot of times it isn't meant to be. That's how they get your attention, especially with ghosts. Kind of backtracking on that topic, they'll make it personal, but then you'll realize those clues weren't for you. It was for them, right? But that's how they got your attention, because it is personal to you. Like, let's say you love your eyes, and so you start getting a lot of compliments on your eyes, and you're like, wow, I'm getting so many compliments on my eyes, but it wasn't about you, right? They're trying to get your attention. The universe is, right? That's kind of an example. But anyway, I'm going to continue. That's a different topic, and we're moving past that. But as far as doubting yourself, like, it's hard when it becomes personal, and it's hard when you feel like your whole life you didn't matter, right? And it's hard to kind of feel like you were never significant, right? You just kind of were going through things. You had your coping mechanisms, you had the things that you loved to keep you going in this world. And all of a sudden you got this open door, and you do have things that don't treat you as insignificant, right? And don't see you as unforgettable, right? And it's kind of overwhelming, because it's like it but and then in some parts of the world you can't share it with other people. Like, I think that's another reason I made this YouTube channel, is because I don't really have humans to share it with, right? I can't go and to sit down with a friend that doesn't really get into the supernatural and be like, all right, Carol, like, sure, you experienced it. Yeah, demons and ghosts. Like, alrighty, girl. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's lonely. It's lonely. And then there's people that doubt you. There's people that look at you like you're crazy. There's people that um don't understand, and you like sometimes feel like a mad scientist, and you're like, it's lonely. It's lonely. And so the people that you do have that understand, you get really guarded with. And my Kermie and I, our relationship in that sense is very guarded, because we both helped each other in ways that we didn't even know before even meeting each other. Um, which maybe we'll share. I would like to share that more when he feels more comfortable to be on camera. It might be years from now, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. But if you are like, let's just say you just stumble across this video and you're not really far in your spiritual journey, and you're just like poking your head out in the water, just know, and if you feel kind of like alone, like, you're not. And there's going to be one day where you're going to feel like so overwhelmed that you're going to be like, wow, I'm that important, right? Because the good side of the universe really loves hard. They love differently, way differently than the human world, but they love really hard to the point where it's like sometimes you can't breathe. But on the other side, they have high expectations. So let's just leave it at that. You know what I mean? But just to know, if you are again at your beginning of your spiritual journey, you're not alone, and you're certainly not forgettable. So I'm going to go drink some water, because I'm dehydrated, and take my dog on a walk, because he just tried to bash into my door. Buddy is letting you know, I am not forgettable either. All right, I got to go. All right, anyway, I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and other than that, thank you for watching, and stay curious and stay tuned into the supernatural. Thanks for watching.